Just about there. Okay. I think that clock is a little bit off, so we will go by my clock. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. It's Tuesday, November 12th, and it is just about 6:30 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask you all to stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Lisa, can we have roll, please?
Mr. Coleman. Mr. Cooper.
Here.
Mr. Van.
Here.
Mr. Howell.
Here.
Mr. Dennison.
Here. Thank you. We do have a quorum, so we can certainly move on to old business. And the first item of old business is a conditional use 24-002, and we've been asked to remove that from the table. So I'd like to make a motion to remove that from the table if I can get a second.
Second.
And any discussion? Hearing none, roll, please.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Van.
Yes.
Mr. Jemison.
Yes.
Mr. Howell.
Yes, thank you. And I'll turn that over.
So as you said, this was conditional use CU 24-002. The last time we saw this would have been back in May. Application is right here, corner of John Reese and Broad. I will say the application has not changed since we last saw it. The applicant wanted to bring the application off the table to discuss some aspects of that. At the last hearing, there was some desire from the board to see a traffic study. And they were proposing that instead of doing a traffic study, they commit to just doing a traffic light at the intersection of John Reese and Broad, as a traffic study would likely show that that's required. So they'd just like to discuss that with you tonight. So turn it over to the applicant if they'd like to come up and go over that. The rest of the application is here if we need it, but like I said, it hasn't changed since last time.
Thank you. This is Mr. Joyce?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
and if I could have you get sworn in by Lisa, please.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Please swear or testify that gives the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
And if I could add name and address, please, for the record.
Sure. My name is Jerry Royce. I'm at 3951 Hammersmith Lane in Loveland, Ohio,
Thank you.
45140.
And the gentleman with you, I assume, is Mr. Parker?
Yeah,
Yes.
David Parker. Who's
And
in
Mr.
charge.
Parker, if you're going to be testifying, I ask you to get sworn in also. All set? Okay. And then your name and address, please.
David Parker, 1706 Pheasant Hills Drive, Loveland, Ohio.
Thank you. Okay, we didn't really hear anything as far as presentation, so we'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Well, I think it was covered by staff, I think, in that when we were back here in the spring, there was a recommendation that we get a traffic impact study. And listening to some of the neighbors and then also talking to staff and also talking to the Public Works Department, I think everyone believes that the traffic impact study is going to show that we need light there. And we're willing to commit to that. We're willing to pay for that. We're willing to install it. And we're willing to move forward. And I think it'll help everyone involved. So with that, I think what we'd like to do is just commit to that and either have a discussion next month about the amending our application, or tonight discuss if we do commit to installing the traffic impact study, then in consideration for that, we get the conditional use for the drive-through passed. We're amenable to both, but again, in discussions with everyone, it just feels like we can bypass the traffic impact study and do the traffic light.
So basically, you're just looking for our opinion on you putting up a light, which I think would be well received by the neighborhood based on
Yeah.
last meeting,
For sure.
which was late
Well, it makes
spring,
sense.
May?
You know, and again, we try to do our homework. As a development company, we listen and we do our homework and kind of look around and say, yeah, that makes sense. So we're willing to do that.
However, approving the conditional use, I mean, that is a major step towards getting it done. At least I'm speaking for myself, maybe not the whole board. However, the application we have is still the same application as before, so we're sure that it would have to be amended to include that. And also there was concerns that the traffic study may or may not have talked about is the turn off into the turning lane, and your right in, right out access, those type of things. So I think you still are going to need to amend your application and update your plans, obviously, because it may be changing it somewhat. Update it before we can really consider the conditional use. At least that's my thought. But I think the light would be well received. I really don't know if I have any questions on that. Does anybody have?
And if I may, we'll work with the Public Works Department and figure out what the parameters are for the traffic study or the traffic light. And so we're going to continue to work with that. So.
Well, yeah, I think before you would get the permit to actually do that, you would have to get with them because I'm sure there's timing.
MOU and those sorts of things. We do that all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So this isn't going to preclude TCOD though, right? They're still going to have to get TCOD a building permit.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it sounds like when you were speaking at the onset, you're comfortable with amending and coming back. Is the impression I got anyway. If I'm misreading you.
Whatever you guys are comfortable with.
Yeah.
We'd love to have a discussion tonight and get a conditional use to move forward. But if you're not comfortable, we'll come in next month. We're fine.
Okay, well, we do have
Continue
another
that
speaker.
discussion.
Is there any other questions or comments from Mr. Royce or Mr. Parker?
I don't think at this time.
Okay, if not, gentlemen, if you have a seat, we're going to have another speaker and we may call you back.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, I do have another speaker request from Mr. Powell, Tim Powell. And Mr. Powell, you get sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm your testimony about the case of truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
And your name and address, please, for the record.
My name's Tim Powell, and I live at 249 John Reese Parkway.
Thank you.
And I was really, this is kind of what I thought was going to happen. We had been watching for a traffic study to be done out there and had seen no evidence of it. There was mentioned that they had spoken with some community people, neighbors out there. I've not spoken with anybody that's been talked to about that. I do have some concerns with the amount of traffic that's going to be going in there when you look, especially at that entrance there, because when you look at, and I mentioned this the last time I was here, when you look at the amount of buses that go in and out of there, school buses every day, because that access, that intersection is accessed by Licking Heights and Watkins. So there is a ton. I've counted, when you look at in and out, the different times, you're probably 28 to 30 times during the day, you're going to have a bus going in and out of that subdivision. So I do have some concerns. And then, of course, it's a main thoroughfare back to the Foundation Park, which we already struggle with because we have people that fly out of that park lickety-split and fly into that park lickety-split. So it does become a danger. And, there's lots of kids that play on those roads. So I just want to speak. I was really looking forward to hearing the results of whatever traffic study was going to be done. And so I'm just kind of here speaking in support of that and really want to make sure all the due diligence, and my main concern is for the safety of our neighborhood.
Very valid concern, certainly. We think, and based on comments like yours, and certainly from the last meeting, we had several other residents that discussed the same thing, but seems to me that I think everyone was kind of be on the side of a light being there. And that was what we thought the traffic study would in fact mandate before we could move forward. Now, I mean, there's still a TCOD study that would have to be done, but
I'm not familiar with that study, but
can you explain that a little more?
Yeah. So basically the TCOD is Transportation Corridor Overlay District. They're going to have to look at it and really see it. It's not the same scope as what we do, obviously, but they're looking at, okay, what impact is this going to have on that area of Pataskala as far as what their particular plans are going to do. So really anything we do tonight, to be clear, the thing we're looking at today is just the conditional use of what we have on this sheet of paper in front of us. So as far as things like how the traffic's going to flow, things like that, that's something that's going to still get covered under the TCOD. They might have their own, that's different members on that board that covers that. They're going to have their own opinions. But I guess where I was, and I don't speak for the board, but, at least for my sake, if we're at least committing to the light that gets us one step of the way, we'll see kind of how things play out tonight. But, that gives us a start. TCOD can maybe refine that block a little further, so to speak, and then go from there.
And I'd also be very interested to know that right in, right out, because we already have that lane that goes.
Right. And that
turns into that. And if we're going to have traffic coming out of that into that lane and then trying to merge out in traffic, I just see it as accidents waiting to happen.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't disagree. That's that's not something we would have on our plate to consider, but I think it would have to be considered before.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're at the point where, as far as this is concerned, I think my thoughts is to make a motion, put it back on the table pending an amended plan and amended application, which could be as early as next month or relatively soon. I think that was okay. You all comfortable with that?
I'd be comfortable with that.
If that's the case, then I'll go ahead and make that motion for conditional use 24-002 to retable the conditional use application pending amended application and plans for a future meeting. And if I could get a second.
Second.
And any other discussion? Hearing none, can I get roll?
Andrew. Mr. Joseph.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes, thank you. So motion carries. We're going to go ahead and retable it. Mr. Royce, Mr. Parker. We'll be waiting then for your amended application, and we can move forward from there. And thank you for the consideration on the traffic light. I'm sure it'll be well received by the citizens. Thank you. Yeah, it's huge. Exactly. It's not going to be cheap. All right. The next on the old business, the next variance application 24012 is requested to remain tabled, so I won't even bring up a motion on that. We do have a motion to remove from table, or we do have a request to remove from table variance application 23-017, and I will make a motion to remove that from the table. And if I can get a second.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll please.
Mr. Jemison.
Yes.
Mr. Van Duren.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Howe.
Yes. Okay, so variance application 23017. Jack, I'll turn it over to you.
Of course, so the location of this is at 14652 East Broad Street. It's currently zoned general business. They are requesting a variance from section 1291.02A4 to allow for asphalt millings as a paving surface for off-street parking. So look here, these are the two parcels in question. Broad Street down to the south here, and the two parcels highlighted in yellow are the subject parcels. So again, there's two properties. The frontage is just under an acre. It's currently occupied by a single family home and does use for residential purposes. And then there's the back acreage, which is 2.33. It's currently vacant. The applicant would like to develop the site as boat and RV storage, which is a conditional use that was approved by the board in March earlier this year, with conditions that the applicant address all comments, carry out the conditional use within 6 months of the date of approval. Permitted installation shall be kept in neat, orderly condition. No lighting constitute a nuisance, and a traffic impact study shall be required as part of their TCOD application, which they'll have to do next. The proposal is that the existing home could be demoed. Will be a two-way access to Broad Street. It's 30 feet wide, paved asphalt. The main storage area is going to be paved asphalt millings, which they've submitted this variance for. Setbacks, 10 feet from the rear property line. There's their plan here. I'm sure we're familiar with this one. Again, the plans haven't changed since the last time, so they want to pave all this area with asphalt millings here to use it as boat and RV storage. Some lines here will have some little pole lights dispersed throughout the site, paved asphalt access onto Broad Street with that L2 screening along the frontage. So the storage area will cross the stream. It's going to be piped in concrete culvert. The entire lot is going to be surrounded by a 6-foot high fence. They propose using the existing trees on the east, west, and north sides of the property as screening. Here's a closer look at the front part of the lot. So again, Broad Street's over to your right here, north would be to the left. Here's a closer look at the back of the property, north is to the top here. So in the applicant's narrative statement, they stated that they believe the property will be heavily screened by existing trees and the 6-foot high fence they're proposing to install. They have included photos of the existing trees in a tree survey. The entrance is going to be paved in asphalt paving with landscaping on either side. They believe the milled paving surface will not be visible from the street and produce runoff due to the semi-pervious nature of the material. Say the applicant's the setback requirement was to reduce disruption to neighboring properties. They believe that with the existing trees, fence, and low traffic nature of the business, there would be no disruption beyond what would exist with the 25-foot setback. They also say they did not believe the request is not substantial and that they are unaware of the zoning restrictions when the property was purchased. So included in their application, they have a tree survey showing the locations, types, and condition of all the existing trees on that back property. And that also shows the trees that are estimated to be removed by the construction of this project. They've also have a new addition, which is a jurisdictional water delineation report that was prepared by an engineering consultant and photographs of the existing trees and vegetation on the property. So, and this is the fence type they proposed using there. That's 6-foot tall, 100% opaque fence. And here's some of the photos of the existing vegetation in the rear of the property that they included in their application there. And this is kind of showing what trees might be estimated by the removal. I understand this red line is the 10-foot and the green is the 25-foot. So the trees are identified here with the dots. So as part of our review, staff would offer the following comments. So they previously applied for a variance that was 24012 that was just left on the table. They've amended that application to only include the request for the setback variances. Well, I understand maybe applicant can speak about this when they're called up, that they want to change the request for their setback variances, and they need to amend the plans to do that. That's why they want to keep that one on the table and come back with it later. This new request was only made for the paving material itself. So just having that parking area be asphalt millings. So Section 1291-02A4 states all off-street parking shall be paved in asphaltic cement, concrete, or pavers to provide a durable and dust-free surface. They propose using asphalt millings, so a variance is required. Although less impervious than paved asphalt or concrete, there'll still be an increased runoff generated over the undeveloped state it currently is in. So staff would like to have an idea of where and what form proposed stormwater facilities would take. If the intent is to discharge into the creek, they'd need additional Army Corps of Engineers and OEPA permitting, additional safeguards to prevent automotive fluids from being discharged to the creek at the discretion of both the Corps and the EPA. So should all these variances be approved, their next step that they'd have to go to Planning and Zoning Commission for that Transportation Corridor Overlay District approval as well. Public Service Department included comments. I've kind of summarized them here, but the full comments are available in the staff report there. So they didn't have an issue with it being millings, but again, stormwater calculations and controls will be needed, provided and reviewed during the plan review process before construction can commence. They'd also say there's a second stream on the property that's about 34 feet south of the northern property line that's not shown on the plans and will still require Corps and EPA coordination before any work can impact the stream zone, which is 25 feet on either side. They did coordinate with Licking County Soil and Water for a site visit. Their findings are attached in your packet there. There was some concerns with the amount of trees that need to be removed to make room for proposed paving. Again, all their full comments are in the staff report there. They also took a look at the wetland delineation report that the applicant provided just like a short summary of that. So from my understanding, the delineation report showed that there is a second blue line stream on the property that's not shown on the plans. Blue line means regulated by the Army Corps of Engineers and Ohio EPA. Any development within 25 feet of that stream has to be reviewed and approved by the Army Corps of Engineers and the EPA, documentation of which must be submitted to the city, and any proposed paving limits shown on the plan would impact on that unmarked street. City engineer had the following comments. Again, there's 2 streams on the property, one of which is not shown on the plans. The engineer believes disturbing both streams would not be reasonable. The runoff coefficient for proposed material is still higher than existing conditions, so we'll need stormwater calculations. And it is the engineer's opinion that the site layout attempts to maximize the space beyond the intent of current regulations. Surrounding properties to the north, you have zoned medium density residential, which is single family homes. To the east is GB and R20 medium density residential, which is a church and a CPA's office. To the south is GB and multifamily residential, which is apartments and mini warehouses. To the west is general business and some more R20 medium density residential, which is single family homes and a vacant lot. So there are your findings of fact for your area variance. They're also printed in your staff report there. So should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, the following conditions may be considered. The applicant shall obtain necessary permits from the city and the Lincoln County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Yeah, the variance that we're, 24-017, the one we're considering right now is strictly just for the paving surface.
Correct.
In your presentation, you referred to a drawing and you said that's that lot, but that lot has not been approved, correct? Because of the
Which lot?
setbacks. You showed,
Yes. The site plan that they submitted?
well, yeah, and you had yellow lines around it. It says this is the lot that they want to use the milling for.
Yeah.
However, that lot is not approved. In fact, it's greatly, I mean, there's a lot of concerns because of the additional stream. So are we approving to cover all that with millings, or there isn't a defined lot to be approved for, right?
So they're requesting to use asphalt millings as a paving surface.
Correct.
The setback variances that have been left on the table, I
Totally
understand they want to make some changes to the plan because of the additional stream that was found on the north side of the property. I didn't receive any updated plans or anything like that showing what the layout, what that would look like.
So if we approve these paving surfaces, they still couldn't apply them until the other variance is in fact approved or
Correct.
finalized.
Correct.
So basically, the only thing we're doing is approving this so that they can utilize that for planning purposes and calculations for stormwater, that type of thing.
They could, yeah.
I think I understand that.
Or they would need to maintain existing setbacks.
Yeah, if they could meet all current codes as far as setbacks and everything like that and have it be millings, they could, but they'd have to provide all the screening per code,
Right,
setbacks
right,
per code,
Right,
everything like
right,
that.
right.
And they still would need a TCAD
Correct.
approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
this is just a step in the process.
Yeah.
Right.
As well as any necessary Army Corps of Engineers.
There's a lot, there's a lot.
So
of
really,
steps.
this
lot
is
of
just,
other
can
steps.
they use millings or?
Yeah.
More or less,
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
So just want to be sure we're not approving
More than we think.
more than we think and really making the next variance no.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now we have somebody to speak today. We do, and if I could have you get sworn in, please.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but yourself you got? Thank you.
And name and address, please.
Richard Main, 23 East Church Street, Newark, Ohio.
Thank you, sir. And you heard the presentation. So
Yes, I'm the attorney for Nyland Enterprises. To kind of clarify what he was saying, with the kind of recognition of that second stream in the northern part of the property, the intent is to no longer seek the setback for the northern line. We're still going to be seeking the setback in the amended application for the east and the west, but not for the north, which is where the residential properties are. We're asking for the paving material variance first because, like you mentioned, it does help us get those stormwater calculations to be able to come to you with a more defined plan if this is how everything's going to look to be able to move forward. So this was solely, can we use asphalt millings or?
right. So you understand that you still have to get the permit and improve any or build it within zone setbacks or get approval on any changes.
Correct.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions? Anything else for us?
Not really.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see, in my opinion, any issue on that. If you all agree, if someone could give me a motion.
Yeah, there are any findings, fact.
Oh, fine.
Hey, I'm fine if you want to skip it.
I'll tell you, just all this stuff. Okay, this one is, we're not doing. All right, how about if we review findings of fact?
Sure.
Variance application 24-017, findings of fact. A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return, or if there can be a beneficial use of the property. Look at that.
Yep.
That's the reason for this. B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulation, such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. I don't see any physical that says they couldn't pave that.
No, would not say physical, no.
So no. C, whether the variance requested is substantial. I don't have a percentage. It's 100%, so I have to say it is, yes?
Yep.
D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as the result of the variance. Any thoughts on that?
I say no.
I'd say no.
I'm in agreement.
I'm comfortable with no, so D. E, whether the variance if granted will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of the adjacent property. And it wouldn't encroach on that, shouldn't have any effect.
Right.
Everybody, so we will say no. F, whether the variance if granted will be detrimental to the public welfare. Let's see,
No.
any negative effect there, so F would be no. G, whether the variance if granted would adversely affect the delivery of government services. Again, no. We would improve them actually from current state. H, whether the property owner purchases subject property with knowledge of the zoning restrictions, and I believe that Jack testified that they did not know that.
I agree.
Okay. I, whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method of variance, and again, they could follow the code, so yes. J, whether the variance if granted will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue. Kind of strange. I mean, I guess, no. I mean,
They could use.
again, if they didn't do the variance, so I'd have to say no on that. Is that
Yeah,
clear?
I'm okay with that, yeah.
And K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance, and I come to a yes on that. Okay, so we've got findings of fact, variance application 24-017. We have yes for A, C, I, and for K, and then we have no for all others, which are B, D, E, F, G, H, and J. Okay, any other discussion on that? Hearing none, can we move to a motion?
I move to approve the variance request for variance application VA 24-017 with the following condition. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Licking County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval.
Thank you. Got a motion and a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, roll please.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes?
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. DeAndrea?
Yes.
Okay, variance application 24-017. Make sure I got that right, yes. Has been approved. So, thank you. Okay. Number there. All right, moving on to variance application 24-013. That has also been tabled from a previous meeting, and it's been requested to remove, so I'll make the motion to remove that from the table. Can I get a second?
Second.
And any discussion? Hearing none, roll please.
Mr. Mr. Howell,
Yes,
Mr. Van Buren,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Jemison.
Yes.
thank you. Variance application 24013 has now been officially taken off the table, and I'll turn it over to you, Jack.
Of course, so location, this is at 364 East Broad Street. It's currently in general business, and they're requesting a variance from section 124905H of the Pataskala Code to allow for a structure that will not meet the minimum building width requirements of the general business zoning district. So look up here, the total parcel is the one outlined in yellow. The area that's proposed to be developed is this frontage right here on Broad Street, about 0.32 acres. So again, it's about 0.32 acres out of 5.44 total. It's part of Hazelwood Plaza. The only frontage they have on the East Broad Street there's 150-foot wide access to the west, and this 82 feet of undeveloped frontage on the east side. It's currently occupied by that strip mall there in the back and a large shared parking area. So this was tabled by the Board of Zoning Appeals at the September 10th hearing. The applicant amended this request to only include the request for section 124905H, that building width. They've submitted a new variance application specifically for the sign variance requests that were asked for. So this one is just about the building width. So there have been some changes to the plan. 664 square foot commercial structure. They've identified all their setbacks up there in red. Those have changed from the last time. It's gotten a little bit closer to Broad Street. At least the drive-through loop there on the south side has. There's a 14-foot wide U-shaped one-way drive-through around the structure, entry to the west, exit to the east, no access directly on the East Broad Street. There's also an added one-way bypass lane on the north side of the structure. There's only going to be one ADA space on site, and they'll be able to pull through, so they don't have to reverse to the drive-through lane. No other parking adjacent to the structure. However, there'll be a pedestrian crosswalk to the adjacent parking area that's shared with Hazelwood Plaza to the north there. Here's a look at their revised plan. So building size or anything hasn't changed. We've just extended the paving down here closer to Broad Street to make room for that bypass lane. And you see their crosswalk over there. They'll have L2 frontage or screening along the frontage there on Broad Street. No side or rear landscaping is required when they're abutting similar uses. And there'll be a dumpster pad with an enclosure in the back with a 6-foot concrete block wall and metal gate. So here's a look at their landscaping plan. You can see their L2 type screening along the frontage there. And here's the elevations that were submitted by the applicant as well. So as part of our review, staff adopted the following comments. Section 124905H states that any structure in the GB zoning district has to be no less than 24 feet in width and depth. It's proposed at just over 18 feet wide, so the request is for a reduction from 24 to 18.17 feet, which is 5.83 less than the requirement, or just about 25%. Didn't receive any other comments from any other departments or agencies. For the surrounding properties to the north, east, and west are all general business. They're all parts of Hazelwood Plaza, except for the east side, which is currently undeveloped. On the south side of Broad Street, you've got Harrison Township. That's B1 business district, which is a car dealership. There are your findings of fact for an area variance, also in your staff report there. So should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, following conditions may be considered. The applicant obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Lincoln County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
So this, again, this is just the size of the building. We're not worried about the fact that the concrete went closer to Broad Street doesn't matter. That's still okay.
Yes, yeah, correct. And this actually went before the Planning and Zoning Commission for their transportation corridor overlay district approval last week, and the Planning and Zoning Commission did approve it. So all their setbacks and everything like that, they're good. For this application, we're only considering the actual width.
Just the actual building itself. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for staff?
No.
Hearing none, I do have an application from Mr. Tolson to speak.
Yeah,
If you could just step up and, well, you don't have to if you don't.
Well, I guess
You do have
I
something to add?
wasn't sure if I was supposed to speak on just that issue, or I'm also the guy on the last issue.
I'll tell you what, before we start, let's make it official, get you sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Now, I do have you down as a speaker for variance application 0192. But this one that we're talking about right now,
It's been tabled, right?
what's that?
You said the first one's been tabled?
This one was originally tabled, but now it has been taken off the table and amended to just address the size of the building.
Okay, I'm actually fine with it. I support that. You know, like you say,
We assume it came from you.
yes.
Okay, do you have anything to add? Because we're just, at this point, considering the size of your building.
Right. Nope, that's fine. I'm just putting my support out there, that's all.
That's all right, understand, appreciate that. Anything from Mr. Tolson?
No.
I would just ask Mr. Tolson, what's your relationship with the whole situation?
I am the vice president of Tolson Enterprises and the authorized signer for Tolson Investments as well, so.
Very good, thank you.
Uh-huh.
If you have a seat then. All right. Any discussion?
No on this one.
Go ahead, have the applicant.
I will say, so the applicant that's listed on the variance application is Joni Godsey.
Okay,
That's the one that was on the application itself. I do know for a fact that the Leonards are his franchisees, so I don't know if you want them to speak on it at all or not.
are they here?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, would you like to speak?
you don't have to.
Not on this issue, I don't think.
Not on this issue?
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm sorry, I didn't have a paper for it, so I didn't think about it. Okay. Thank you, though, for bringing that up, and we'll talk to you maybe in a few minutes. Okay. Very good. Any other thoughts or discussion on this? And I guess we should move to findings of fact ahead of time this time, right?
Yeah.
You guys are tough. All right. So, variance application 24-013, findings of fact A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or if there can be a beneficial use of the property. And I say yes.
Yes.
Developing it for beneficial use. B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulation, such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. Just the size of the lot, I think is
I would say
unique.
the size of the lot is very unique. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll say yes for B. C, whether the request is substantial, I think it was 25%, right?
Yes.
So we say no.
Good with that.
C is no. D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood will be substantially altered or adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. It's already a commercial area, and that would be another commercial area, so I would say no. Okay. E, whether the variance if granted will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property. And again, no. F, whether the variance if granted will be detrimental to the public welfare. Let's see how it could be, so no. G, whether the variance if granted would adversely affect the delivery of government services. Again, should have no negative effect. H, whether the property owner purchased the subject property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. No, I didn't ask that one. We have.
I would assume no, but
I'm gonna say no.
All right, we're gonna go with no.
I think I kind of remember that from the last time.
Yeah, we'll have to remember it from for the next one. Whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method than variance. Again, it's a very small lot, and I didn't really look to see if they could actually go full size, but I'm gonna say no.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I agree.
J, whether the variance if granted will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement issue. I'm comfortable with yes on that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. And I'm comfortable again with yes.
Yes.
All right, so variance application 24-013, we have yes for A, B, J, and K, no for C, D, E, F, G, H, and for I. And if we don't have any other discussion, can someone make a motion?
I move to approve a variance from section 1249.05H for variance application VA-24-013 with the following conditions. that the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Lincoln County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval.
And can I get a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll please.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderin,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes?
Mr. Howe.
Yes. All right, so the variance application 24013 has been removed from table and the amended version has been approved and accepted. Although it seems a little, well, we'll stay in order. We're going to move right on to variance application 24-018. Jack, if you could go ahead.
Of course. So location, this one is at 392 Cottage Grove Circle. So they're requesting a variance from section 1121.13 Pataskala Code to allow for reduced side yard setbacks for a driveway from 3 feet to 0 feet. So if you look up here, this is the property in question. You got Taylor Road off to your west side here. It's about 0.24 acres in size. It's got a single family home on it. It's lot 24 of Taylor Estates. Access is to the southeast on Cottage Grove Circle. In 2021, an additional concrete driveway was constructed without a permit. It's 6 feet wide, roughly at the right of way, 17 feet wide at the rear, with a 0-foot setback to the northeast side property line. Section 1121.13 states that all driveways within platted subdivisions shall be a minimum of 3 feet from side property lines. Here's a site plan that was submitted. So this has already been constructed, but as you see, it's about 6 feet wide here, just following the property line all the way up to the rear here. So in the narrative statement that was submitted by the applicant, they stated that the installing contractor was to apply for all necessary permits prior to construction. However, they did not do so. The applicant believes the request is not substantial and that no adjoining property would suffer a detriment as a result of the request. And they stated they were not aware of the zoning restrictions at the time the property was purchased. Staff would offer the following comments. 1121.13 states all driveways in platted subdivisions shall be 3 feet from side property lines. So the request is to decrease the side yard setback from 3 feet to 0 feet or 100%. Zoning inspector stated they're currently in violation of Pataskala Code for installation of a driveway without a permit. Didn't receive any other comments from any other departments or agencies. Surrounding properties, they're all zoned plan development district. To the north, east, and south, you've got single family homes. On the west side of this, you have the reserve area for that subdivision. Findings of fact for an area variance. So should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, following conditions may be considered: that they get all necessary permits from the city within 1 year of the day of approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any comments from neighbors or anything?
We have not received any.
That was my question.
Sorry.
No, that's great. Thank you. Okay, is Kimberly Junker here? Would you like to come up? And if you could get sworn in, please.
Do you swear affirm the testimony about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. And your name and address for the record.
Kimberly Yonker, 392 Cottage Grove Circle, Pataskala, Ohio.
Thank you. Ms. Yonker, you've heard the presentation. I understand this work has already been completed.
Yes, sir. In October of 21, and we thought everything was great. No problems whatsoever. We met with them and I asked them if they were getting the permits. They said, yeah, we're taking care of everything. And then 3 years later, I received a letter from Jack. And I was like, he wasn't, Felix, I think it was. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know what to do. So here I am.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry it's under these circumstances.
Yeah, it's just so embarrassing.
We have not heard anything from neighbors.
They all love it. Kids come ride their bikes on our driveway. I mean, we've never had any problems. It's been in 3 years.
Any comments or questions from Ms. Yonker?
I have none.
And I don't have any either, so thank you for coming up.
Oh.
Go ahead and have a seat. All right. Unfortunately, this one's already done, so it kind of driving by, looking at it, it's a very neat, up-to-date neighborhood, and that is certainly well done too.
Yes, agreed.
I don't have any issue in that. And if anybody, or if you're all okay with it, I'll move right to findings of fact.
Okay.
Findings of fact, variance application 24-018A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or if there can be a beneficial use of the property. There already is a beneficial use. A is good. Yes, I mean, B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property from being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulations such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. There are none, but if it was look for the original variance, but since it's already there, I think that's the unique physical circumstance. So
I'm
yes.
okay with that.
C, whether the variance requested is substantial, it's 100%, so by our standard, it is. C is yes. D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. The neighbors have not voiced any concern, and it's not encroaching on their
I'd
property.
say no.
So no for D. E, whether the variance, if granted, will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property. And again, it's not encroaching on property, so no on that. F, whether the variance if granted will be detrimental to the public welfare. See any negative effect?
No.
No. G, whether the variance if granted would adversely affect the delivery of government services. Again, it would not. H, whether the property owner purchases subject property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. We say no, that was testified to, I believe. I, whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method than variance. The answer is yes, although I think at this point that would be tearing it up,
Jackhammer.
but they could do it. So yes, are we on that? J, whether the variance if granted will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification possible of the requirement at issue. And there would be no further modification, so I would say yes. Agree. And K, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. And I'm comfortable with yes. You guys too?
Yes.
Okay. Variance application 24-018. We have yes for A, B, C, I, J, and for K, and no for D, E, F, G, and for H. And hearing that, unless there's no discussion, can I get a motion?
I move to approve variance from section 1121.13 for variance application VA 24-018 with the following conditions: that the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and the Licking County Building Code Department within 1 year of the date of approval.
Thank you. Got a motion? Can I get a second? Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? If none, roll please.
Mr. Danderian,
Yes.
Mr. Jemison,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Howell.
Yes. You're all set, Ms. Yonker. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
As far as BZA, you're all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on. Other item on new business is variance application 24-019. Jack.
Yes, so we are back to scooters, the same project that was approved earlier. So for this one, they're requesting approval of 3 variances from section 1295-09B2B. First is to allow for an increase in the amount of wall signs from 1 to 4. Second, to allow for the wall sign on the east face of the building to exceed 32 square feet. And third, for the wall sign on the west face of the building to also exceed 32 square feet. So all this stuff is the same. We won't go over it again. We'll just skip right to the signs. So signage, they're going to have 1 monument sign in the front, 32 square feet in size, 10 feet in height. 2 Scooters Coffee signs, 36 square feet each on the east and west faces of the building. 2 logo signs, 18 square feet each on the north and south faces of the building. 2 directional signs at the entry and exit, and 4 small little wall advertisement signs, 3 on the east side, along the west side. Those are going to be less than 6 square feet, so they're exempt. So here's a look again at the elevation. So this is the front looking, this is what you'll see from Broad Street. They've got their little logo sign here, and same on the north side. This will be facing towards the parking lot in the back. And then this is the west side. So it's have the Scooters Coffee sign here. This is their ground sign right here. And then the east face of the building, see their Scooters Coffee sign on this side as well. So again, the first variance is from section 1295.09B2B. That's to allow for more than one wall sign on a separate business unit. There's 4 wall signs proposed, so the request is to increase the allowable amount by 3 to 300%. The previous submittal had shown a rear entrance, so when we reviewed it that time, it showed it was eligible for a second wall sign because you can get a bonus sign if you have a side or rear entrance. However, with the current proposal, there's only one door. So that one's out the window. They need the full variance to allow for more than one wall sign now. The second variance is to allow for a wall sign exceeding 32 square feet. So on the east face, the wall sign is proposed at 36 square feet. The request is for an increase of 4 square feet for 12.5%. The third variance is the same, to increase from 32 square feet, but for the west side. So again, an increase of 4 square feet for 12.5%. The previous submittal had included some requests for the ground sign height and size, so that sign has been reduced. There's no longer a need for the variances for the ground sign. Also, at that hearing in September, they said that the existing Hazelwood Plaza sign was going to be removed. We did receive confirmation that in fact was going to be happening. So the existing Hazelwood Plaza ground sign is going to be removed. As code says, you can only have one ground sign per lot. Didn't receive any comments from any other departments or agencies. Surrounding properties remain the same. Findings of fact. So should the board choose to approve the applicant's request, the following conditions may be considered. They get all permits from the city and the county building code department in 1 year. And 2, there should only be one ground sign on the subject lot per section 1295.09B2D unless a future variance request is approved. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
So we're not considering the advertisement signs or the turn lane entry. exit
Correct,
signs.
yes, those are all exempt under our code. They don't even need to get a permit to do them. Just wanted to confirm, since last time, the proposal that they showed had those larger.
Right.
Okay.
But those have been reduced, they no longer need variances.
And the monument sign is okay the way it is now.
The monument sign is okay the way it is now too.
Okay.
Any question for Jack? And I will go, Miss Godsey, right? And,
The Leonards.
I'm sorry?
The Leonards.
Okay. If you want to go ahead and come on up and get sworn in, please.
You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
And name and address, please.
Tammy Leonard, 2640 Carroll Southern Road, Carroll, Ohio, 43112.
And sir?
I'm Sean Leonard, 2640 Carroll Southern Road, Carroll, Ohio.
Okay. Thank you. You've heard the presentation,
Yes.
Ms. Leonard. Thank you. You could go ahead and
Yeah.
update us.
So we wholeheartedly took everything back and tried to change as much as we could to come in with code. We're asking for basically 4 signs. One sign that we're allowed to have, which is 36 square feet. But we have split that and we're going to put it on the smiley that you'll see on the paperwork on the north and south sides of the building. And we feel like and they're only 18 square feet. So it's a total of the 36 square feet. That's how we tried to honor the intent of the code. And we feel like it's very important for us to have that sign on the north side of the building. That butts up to the Kroger parking lot. And there is no ingress or egress from Broad Street. That's really the only entrance to scooters. And so we feel like we need the signage to be able for our customers to identify that we're there, that are coming into that Kroger's parking lot. Also for traffic flow, we think it's important. Public welfare, it allows for a quick quality service because people are able to identify that we're scooters and they can come in and out. And that's the whole reason for our service is quick. It will also benefit emergency personnel in case they need to get in, and we added the bypass lane and the ADA in and out, easy accessible. So we want to make sure that that would also benefit emergency personnel. And if I recognize that Donato's right next door to us didn't have the same codes as we do at this time, but they did feel the need as well on our it'll actually show a picture. They did feel the need to also put it on all four sides, put signs on all four sides for identification because of where we are located. With the parking lot behind us and, no ingress, egress on Broad.
So, first of all, my understanding is you're allowed one wall side at 32 square feet.
Yes,
And you were indicating you're allowed one at 36. It's 32.
okay,
And you were saying that your two logoed ones on the north and south side were your way to meet that requirement,
yes.
without mentioning the east or west side, which are the big signs, right?
Right, that's another variance that, yes,
Right,
we
okay.
could talk about.
And it's my understanding that you have, or will have, thank goodness, a monument sign on your north side, on the
Yes,
Broad Street side.
Yes.
that's
Excuse me, the south side.
south side, yes,
Thank
South side, yeah.
yes,
Yes,
that is the
Uh,
monument sign.
on the Broad Street side. So you really do have some notification on the Broad
Broad
Street
Street.
side.
Sure,
And I understand what you're trying to do, and I understand, but we have these zoning laws that should we approve yours, we're gonna have to obviously do the same thing moving down the road for the next one. And I'm just concerned at the amount of signs, like, for example, the north and south side, as nice as that is, it's a little logo that's probably not familiar to anybody.
but we
Once
want
it
it to
becomes
be,
familiar to them,
we want it to be,
and I agree, once it becomes familiar to them, they will already know where you're at because they're familiar with it. And your east and west signs, in my opinion, can be seen from either side, either approach on the Kroger parking lot side and from Broad Street.
the channel letters,
The
The
one that says
Scooters Coffee.
scooters.
okay.
Yeah, the one that actually identifies what it is. I think it says scooters, and it's also says coffee or something, coffee
Yes.
drive-through, or, I mean, so it's, scooters by itself may not be familiar, but then they see coffee, obviously, and now it kind of ties it in.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
That's my thought.
And we did come down significantly on those channel letter signs, although they're in addition to,
Right. So that's my concern, not the layout of it, or it's just that we have more signs than is allowed. And I'm not totally convinced that they're all necessary.
yeah. I would just add that it is the brand standard prototype, and our worry is that as first-time franchisee owners, we want to meet all of the brand standards as much as we can.
Understand?
Because that is, we don't want to drastically impact our overall operations or the success of the business in Pataskala,
No, we want you to be successful too. That's not,
I believe.
I don't think that would come into any of our conversations, but
Yeah.
at the same time, we have to understand that there's other businesses potentially, hopefully, like you, wanting to come into our town. And we got the laws out, or the restrictions out there for a reason, so we got to be really careful how lenient we become with them.
So would you be comfortable with one or the other smiley and then the channel letters taken, reduced in size?
Well, I think there's several variances here. One is 4 signs versus 1. I don't know, you guys' thoughts. My opinion is the north and south ones just are, I don't want to say overkill, but certainly not as necessary considering they got a monument sign in the 2 east-west signs.
Well, I also look at the bank. That
Yeah.
has a lot of signs too, that was already.
We already approved.
Right,
that was
North
approved.
Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tricor, or is it, or
Yeah,
something?
whatever it was, yeah.
Well, yeah.
I hear,
TrueCore.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I also
No.
I feel like,
For the same reason we said in the front, yeah.
I mean, I think they've done,
I'm happy with the size reduction.
I
Basic
am,
look at
I
this
like the size reductions on
versus
it,
that.
especially the lettering.
Substantial.
Try to keep it to one guy at a time here, just so we.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No,
That's right. I got 2 ears, but I can only hear so much.
I can barely hear it.
Quick, everybody talk.
no, they've gone back and re-engineered
Right.
it and changed it, reduced what their ask was substantially, in my view.
Mhm.
I agree with that. The size of the lettering signs, I think I'm very much more comfortable with the size of that now than what I was before.
On the east-west side.
On the east-west
Yeah.
sides, I like those a lot.
Yep.
The monument sign is not in play here at all. It just adds to it.
But it helps, helps with their exposure.
Right.
I mean, I understand what you're saying with, because I mean, yeah, the monument sign's not in play, but I mean, in total, regardless of what the code says, they're gonna have 5. Because they're gonna have 1 on each side of the building and then they're gonna have the monument. So I guess what the applicant was maybe proposing is getting rid of the north or the south.
Yes,
The
it
one on
would-
the
Cross
south
street side.
I would say the south, yes.
Yeah.
Because the north, I think, first of all, the smiley is really a very big part of the branding. And so I think that would just be a real big bonus for us to have it on that
Right.
side.
And then you'd have the monument
Mr.
on.
House said
Yes.
too. Once you're in the back parking lot, you can see.
You're there.
the nice
Yeah.
ones.
Do you plan to have the smiley on the monument side?
The smiley is part of the monument. No, it is not, sorry, no.
Because that's the monument there, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
no, that's the drive-through sign.
Let's see.
The monument
No,
on
that's
the
the
brown side.
the monument's going up.
Yeah, no, it's just Scooter's Coffee drive-through for the monument sign. Yeah.
Again, thoughts?
I-
Where do we go?
I would feel better with that, I think,
With removing the south
the south one.
and then just going.
I think once you see it, you're by it. You know, it's
Right.
like you're driving, you know,
Right.
you
I
see
think-
scooters both sides and you
You're gonna get,
understand the,
The one, yeah.
but I didn't see the monument in here. So you don't know if that's it?
Yeah.
Show it up there.
It's maybe in this.
Oh, okay.
You probably got a picture in here somewhere.
yeah, and I think that you're gonna get more exposure from the monument sign and then seeing the 2 side level ones that way.
So- I'll put it this way, I'm good with the application as is with the exclusion of the south facing sign on the building.
Anyone else?
I would agree with that.
How about,
There it is.
how about you?
Yeah,
I would love that.
Yeah.
It's more than she was hoping for. Al, if you're all covered, anything else for the letters?
Good.
No sense in having you just stand there for no reason.
Okay, appreciate you guys
So we
very
need
much.
to ask about the
You,
knowledge of the, did you know about this variance before you before you were involved
No, sir.
with the property? All right, there we go, we always forget.
thank you.
Thank you.
And we do have Mr. Tolson still as a speaker request. Did you want to add anything, Mr. Tolson?
No, just my support thing.
Okay. Okay, I just want to give you the opportunity since you filled that out. All right. If you're all comfortable with that, someone can make a motion with that in regard, because it's going to be, the motion is going to be different than accepting the
We're gonna
application.
do the findings of
We're
facts.
gonna add a condition.
And we got to do findings. So whoever's going to do that motion can think about it. Or findings of fact.
You guys have fun.
God, you guys are.
And I can help you with the condition when we get to that.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, findings of fact, variance application 24-019A, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return, or if there can be an improper or beneficial use of the property. I think we said yes before, still yes?
Yep.
Yes.
B, whether there are unique physical circumstances or conditions that prohibit the property being developed in strict conformity with the zoning regulations such that a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. And I guess there are unique physical circumstances, the location and the size of the building, basically.
Yes.
Would yes. C, whether the variance requested is substantial, and it is substantial.
Yeah.
At least one of them is well over 100%.
Mhm.
Okay. D, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, or the adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result. Again, it's a commercial area, commercial businesses there. I think that would be no.
No.
E, whether the variance if granted will substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of the adjacent properties, and I don't believe it will. It's not on the properties. F, whether the variance if granted will be detrimental to the public welfare, and not detrimental, no. G, whether the variance if granted would adversely affect the delivery of government services, again, no effect on government services. H, whether the property owner purchases subject property with knowledge of the restrictions. Thank you for that question. So we have no. I, whether the property owner's predicament can be obviated through some other method than variance. Of course, yes. They could obviously follow the zone requirements. J, whether the variance, if granted, will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least modification of the requirement at issue. I'd have to say no on that. I mean, I think there's probably other things that could be made. So you comfortable with no?
Yep.
Okay, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting this variance. And I think it would be.
Yep.
Okay. Variance application 24019, we have yes for A, B, C, I, and for K. And we have no for D, E, F, G, H, and for J. That being said, now we can get a motion. If someone's ready.
I move to approve the 3 variance requests for variance application VA 24019 with the following conditions. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the city of Pataskala and Licking County Building Department within 1 year of date of application. There should be only one ground sign on the subject lot per section 1295.0B2D unless further variance request is approved. And 3, that the south
proposed wall sign on the south side of the building shall be removed.
is exactly what I was going to
I knew
say.
that.
Motion good. All right, so we've got a motion with 3 conditions, and do I have a second?
I'll second.
We do have a motion and we have a second, and can we get roll?
Mr. Jemison,
Yes.
Mr. Van Duren,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Howell.
Yes. All right. So, variance application 24-019 has been approved with the discussed condition. And good luck with the project. I look forward to trying your coffee.
It's gonna be coffee time.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll have plenty of coffee. All right. Very good. That's it for all the new business. We can go jump right into findings of fact. Let me grab these out. First finding of fact, conditional use of 2 we did not do. Next one, I'd like to make a motion to approve the findings of fact for variance application 24-017. As discussed earlier, if I can get a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll.
Mr. Howell,
Yes.
Mr. Van Duren,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Jemison.
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the findings of fact for variance application, 24-013, as discussed earlier. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, we got plenty of seconds. And discussion. Hearing none, roll.
Mr. Jemison,
Yes.
Mr. Van Duren,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Howell.
Yes. Thank you. Findings of fact 24-013 have been approved. I'd like to make a motion to approve the findings of fact for variance application 24-018 as discussed earlier. And can I get a second?
Second.
And motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, roll please.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Howell,
Yes.
Mr. Jemison,
Yes.
Mr. Van Duren,
Yes.
Thank you. variance application, or findings of fact for variance application 24-018 approved as discussed. And I'd like to make a motion to approve the findings of fact for variance application 24-019 as just discussed. And can I get a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Danaran?
Yes.
Mr. Joseph?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes. Findings of fact for variance application 24-019 have been approved. And moving on to excuse of absence, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to excuse Mr. Danduran from our October 8th meeting. If I can get a second.
Second.
And motion in and a second. Any discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Jemison?
Abstain.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Danaran?
Abstain.
It didn't pass.
Didn't
Didn't
pass.
pass. All right, thank you.
I guess I have to approve, don't I?
Someone's got.
So one of you did.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay.
You were, why did you abstain?
Because I wasn't
Proof
good.
has and he'll approve yours.
All right, we do have 3 of the quorum voted, so we will pass that Mr. Danduran's
So what happens if I don't? If they don't?
You don't want to know.
We're gonna test that whole theory again right now.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna take it right back there.
I missed out.
You know what they do with that? Sick horses, right?
Moving forward, I'd like to make a motion to excuse the absence of Mr. Jemison from the October 8th meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Jemison?
Abstain.
Mr. Danaran?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes, okay. Absence has been excused, Mr. Jemison. All right, everyone should have received the copy of the minutes from that October 8th meeting. And is there any additions, deletions, edits that you'd like to bring up?
No.
Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve them as submitted. Can I get a second?
Second.
And a motion and a second. Roll, please.
Mr. Danaran?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Jemison?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes. Minutes have been approved from the October 8th meeting as presented. Thank you. Other business for the board. I do have just one thing that I need everyone to understand that I cannot make the December meeting. So, you're on. Anything else, other business for the board?
No, sir.
All right, hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting until that December 10th meeting, if I can get a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Danaran?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Jemison?
Yes.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
I can't count apparently.